compare myself to others all the time. Do you? A lot of times the comparisons we make are wrong or don't matter. And then on top of it, there are all these influencers and all these people in life who say, do not compare, do not compare, do not compare. Comparing is bad, it is wrong, it is shameful, do not compare. So now, not only am I comparing, but I'm feeling bad about comparing. Wow, the whole thing is just like, you want to talk about comparisons? I do. I want to talk about comparisons because it's not just for you. It's not just for younger people. It's not just because of social media. It's not because of celebrities. It's not because of paparazzi. It's not because of all these reasons that people tell us we compare ourselves to others. You know why we compare ourselves to others? Because we're human. I have compared myself to others for as long as I can remember. I compare myself to others every day. There's always a comparison going on in my head to somebody who's doing something I want to do or who looks like I want to look. Or, I compare myself to videos of dumb stuff. Like, for the life of me, I can't figure out how to do a cat eye with liner correctly because I have wrinkly eyes. And then I look at videos of women my age who say, I'm done.
You just do a little flick.
Really? Really? You can do a little flick. I can't do a little flick. It is not happening. And so because of this comparison of some woman who makes it look so easy, I've tried, I don't know, it feels like 14 different products to figure out how to do it. Currently, I've just given up. If you want to tell me how to do it, you can. And yet, what I realized from this is that I compare myself all the time. I compare myself all the time. There was a woman on YouTube who I loved, loved, loved. She's 103 years old. And I was looking at her and I thought, oh God, I really love what she's done with her hair. She has really thick hair. She's braided it. She's put it on top. And I was busy thinking, oh, I wonder if I can do that. I think her hair is maybe better than my hair. Maybe she looks more authentic because of the way she does her hair. But my mind will normally go to comparisons. And I know yours does too. I know yours does too, because I know you're looking at your friends. I have, a young person in my life, a junior in high school, who has a friend who has 400,000 followers on Instagram. I mean, how can she not compare herself to her friend who is made up every day, who has all these followers? Like, who knows why? I can even compare myself to her. How did she get 400,000 followers at 16? When I'm still trying to get, my first 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So it is endless. And you know what is even worse? So you compare. I've compared my whole life. You'll hear more. There's a story in this video about comparing myself in a really dumb way to someone who was a surfer who had, I don't know, arguably the world's best body walking by me. And I sitting there comparing myself, comparing how she looked to me, losing track of my relationship with my husband and why he wanted to be with me and not with Miss Perfect Tan Butt. The brain can just go on and on for those of us who both compare and ruminate. Research shows that 90% of us compare ourselves to others all the time. In fact, 10% of our daily brain activity is involved in comparing ourselves to others. And then on top of it, there are all these influencers and all these people in life who say, do not compare, do not compare, do not compare. Comparing is bad, it is wrong, it is shameful, do not compare. So now, not only am I comparing, but I'm feeling bad about comparing. Wow, the whole thing is just like, I remember when I was shooting a Halloween video, I walked through this, what looked like muddy ground that turned to be kind of like quicksand. I was sucked into this bog full of wet mess. And that's what comparison feels like. I have been comparing myself to others for more than 70 some years. All the standard comparisons that I said women do: body, skin, hair, professional comparisons. The first comparison I actually know that I made was from a home movie. I was a toddler and I was really, there's just no way to say it. I was chubby. I had so many chins, my mom couldn't tie a bonnet on me. And there's a video of me sitting there like a dumpling watching my cousin. He's 3 months younger and he's still a very active guy. And I'm watching him crawl really fast. He's really zipping around the room and I can't move. And there's a look on my face, absolutely, totally, wow, how can he do that and I can't? My first recorded comparison. So I am bringing to you more than 70 years of experience, more than 70 years of tears, of pain, of sweat, and if I think about it, even blood shed over comparison. And finally, I started figuring out what the real deal is with comparison and how I can make it so that it doesn't hurt and sometimes even helps. And I'm going to share that with you today. I'm going to share with you everything that cost me so much for free because I want you to have your richer, happier life sooner than I had mine. I'm going to see if I can save you 50 years, 40 years, 30 years of feeling bad. I'm going to go through tips that sort of consolidate what I know about comparisons. And then we're going to look at how we can reframe comparisons and how we see the world and how we think about it so that by the end of this video, you'll go out into the world looking for ways to compare that serve you instead of that hurt you. The first one is, can I compare myself to something else about the person? What I realized is that when I compare myself to someone in a way that hurts me, it's because I compare myself to something that they are or can do that is not like me, where I think they're better than I am. And I use that to hurt myself, right? It's like they are something I'm not. Here's a story that has multiple comparisons in it. We're in Costa Rica. It's the first time in our marriage that I have chosen the trip and I have planned the transportation. And Pop-Pops was already kind of wary because it's not in my skill set so much, but I wanted a yoga vacation by the beach. And it took forever to get there and he was like maximum cranky. And I thought, okay, I'll feed him and he won't be so hangry, right? Don't want a hangry man. And we go, everybody's eating outside. We go past a hammock and we sit down at the big outdoor eating place on this little tiny strip of beach. And I'm very close, like I'm here, Pop-Pops is here. And we've gotten tropical drinks to start whatever we're going to have. And I realize about 1 second before Pop-Pops that half the surfers are young women, girls really, with amazing bodies. It's like amazing killer bodies. And the bodies are dressed in amazing, what look to me like Brazilian bikinis, right? They're just at peak. They're like a perfect flower that's just bloomed. And so I see Pop-Pops trying to check them out without really losing it. And then this one girl, I just assumed she was Brazilian because she walked like she was sambaing and she was this close to Pop-Pops. And what was close to him because he was sitting down was her bottom. And there it was. It was before Brazilian butt lifts, and yet it looked like the good Lord had given her one. She had a perfect behind. It was round. There was just a tiny bit of peach fuzz on it. It was sun-bronzed. You could see her muscles rippling. It was like she was the specimen every woman wants to be. And not only that, Pop-Pops and I saw her at the same moment, and he basically forgot how to swallow.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was going to choke to death. I thought I was going to have to do Heimlich on him. He looked at that, bottom so close to him, and I could see him thinking, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch, do not touch. And I'm thinking, not possible. I would never, ever be able to look like that. And I was feeling, what a lot of us women feel like when we look at other women with amazing bodies. It was like, I never had that body. I can't have that body. I wish I had that body. I'm never going to surf. I wish I knew how to surf. Like the whole thing was, I can't. And the comparison was bringing me down on my vacation, right? Total downer. But in the middle of that was, okay, if I want to surf and I can't do that, maybe I can have an adventure. So we're driving in some rental car that's 5,000 years old, and we see a place that offers zip lining. And I said, okay, Pop-Pops, we're going to go zip lining. And he's like, yeah, sure. We're old. We can't go zip lining. We're going zip lining. And I was like, yeah, we're going zip lining. So we go, and I tell them the truth, which is that I have an artificial hip, an artificial knee. And they're like, okay. And in Spanglish, we agree that I'm going to do this with another guy who works there. And that the way we're going to do it is that I'm going to wrap my legs around him. Oh, mercy. I will confess that he was actually very good looking.
Yeah.
So I wrap my legs around him. I'm hanging on for dear life. I have 5,000 hooks and straps. And he has his cell phone, and there's a video of me somewhere, I wish I could find it, screaming and giggling all the way down while I had this extraordinary adventure. I loved it. And it happened because I was jealous. It wasn't until that moment that I found out that Pop-Pops is afraid of heights. So the comparison to Miss Phenomenal behind turned out to be great for me, not so great for him. Another tip, and this one is really hard for me, and I would love to know if you try this one and you can do it. And that is, can you find joy in the comparison? Can you actually be happy for someone else? Can you look at someone you compare yourself to and think, wow, isn't that great for them? The Dalai Lama calls that kind of comparison enlightened self-interest, because if you can find joy in thinking about others, then it reflects back and you find joy in yourself. That's kind of a lifetime spiritual work, but I share that for those of you who are more spiritually evolved than I am. I'm a work in progress. And if you can do it and you're making progress on it, I would love to have you share your ideas with the community, because the community that we're building is a community about having a rich life, which includes a life that's full of joy. If nothing else, I've learned you can at least laugh about it. Early in my career, I had a really phenomenal boss who was my mentor. And his name was John Murray. He was the classic old school Irishman who back in the day could drink at lunch and you never knew it, and go out with the boys and carry on. And he was like what in those days was said with approval, he was a man's man. And yet he made it his mission to help me and to help the handful of women trying to make it in this corporate male world, trying to help us understand how to get that done. So one day I went to see him and I was so sad. I was like sad and we'll bleep this out. I was sad and because someone who was a peer of mine got promoted. And I thought it was so unfair. And I was like, that isn't fair. That isn't wrong. I'm better at this. I'm better at that. I was like really on a rampage. And he heard me out. And then he looked at me and he said, this I can't say, so I will edit out what he actually said. He looked at me very seriously and he said, Rana, think about it. If any jerk can get promoted, think how good that is for you. And I just burst out laughing. And I still think, well, if any jerk can get promoted, if any jerk can get funding, if any jerk can get anything, that's good news for me, because that means I can too. The next tip is really a question that I asked myself that I invite you to ask yourself. And that is, what happens if and when you compare yourself to yourself? If you're learning a language, what happens if you compare how good you are in Mandarin today compared to a year ago? What happens if you compare how good you are at programming to a year ago? What happens if you compare yourself to how good you are at using TurboTax to a week ago when you hadn't even tried it? What happens if you compare yourself to when you were much younger and going out with people you wouldn't even have a drink with now? What happens when you look back and compare yourself? So, quick summary. Is this comparison telling you something about yourself? Can I compare myself to something else about the person that I'm comparing myself to? Is it possible to find joy in the comparison I'm making? What happens if I decide to compare myself to myself? So here are the things I've learned in 73 years that will take me into 74, and I hope will help you as you go from 13 to 14, 26 to 27, 38 to 39, 48 to 49, whatever is coming up for you. Here are tips that I hope will make the path easier and smoother for you. I've learned I'm always going to compare. I am someone who compares. If you are someone who compares, that's cool. That's okay. 90% of us do. The big lesson is that comparisons don't always have to hurt. Comparisons don't always have to hurt. You can work with comparisons so that they don't hurt, and in fact, you can use comparisons to help. Thank you so much for watching the video. It means the world to me. I want you to know this. If you're the kind of person who is very in touch with your feelings and not all of your feelings are helping you, if you feel like you don't have the tools you need to take action in your life, to take the next step, to create a rich life for yourself, and you wish there was someone in your life who was loving, who was not judging you, who was shielding you, if you're looking for someone who's speaking from life experience and not textbooks, then I can be your loving granny. I can be there for you. I can be a new kind of granny, a bonus granny for you. And you can be part of the community we're building that will be a private community and a safe space to talk about things that are about energy, that have an orientation to people who are empathic, who feel a lot, but also about getting things done that are very practical and very specific about how to make it happen. That's what we're doing. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please hit subscribe. Y'all know how to do that. And then you'll be there for all the amazing things that I'll be doing with the team this year and with you as you become part of the team. There's so much we can do together. As we move past, I'm the expert, you're the listener. No, we're on this life journey together. I've been on it longer and have some perspectives to offer. And I am also here to listen lovingly to you. So please be in touch. You can DM me. You can be in touch with me. I promise to answer. I'm there for you. Thank you.